Oh, here we go. So now unions are anti-Semitic. Teachers are anti-Semitic. Politicians are anti-Semitic. Podcasters are anti-Semitic. Everyone's anti-Semitic. There are a lot of people who say, why are you guys so obsessed with Israel? This is the talking point you will hear from Zionists who have nothing else. They'll say, yeah, I know Israel not perfect. Why isn't the fact that you guys are obsessed with the Jews? Why are you guys so obsessed with Israel? We don't even have a real country, bro. Like, you have AIPAC that brags about rigging elections. You have these Zionist organizations like Stop Anti-Semitism that literally get people fired and financially retaliated against. It's the biggest obstacle of our life. We have a completely fake country with these people infiltrating our country. That's why I don't like condemning globalized intifada. I think obviously the Zionist meltdown over it is overblown, but as I mentioned before, intifada just being global, just means struggle. So when we say globalize the struggle against Zionism, that means that we are not only talking about freeing Palestine, we're talking about freeing the West from the influence of the Zionist mob that financially retaliates against us, that cracks down on our free speech, and they corrupt our politics by funneling money to the most corrupt, evil motherfuckers in the world, like Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, John Fetterman, Hakeem Jeffries, Jim Clyburn, Nancy Pelosi. These people are funded by Zionists. So the fact that people don't understand that Zionism is the struggle of our lifetime has always been crazy to me. It's why I covered this extensively even before October 7th, because it was a struggle even before the genocide. Because now we have Zionists that completely infiltrated our education system. They infiltrated every aspect of our society to the point where the teachers union, after seeing the ADL smear peace activists as anti-Semitic, after seeing the ADL bastardize what it means to be anti-Semitic, the ADL essentially made it where if you don't support the military goals of the state of Israel, you're anti-Semitic. They completely bastardized what it meant to be anti-Semitic to the point where Wikipedia don't even view them as a real source anymore. And you have the teachers union, the biggest teacher union in the country, who members organized in order to stop using the ADL as a source. And the ADL is now forcing them to overthrow that decision. Now do you guys see why we say globalize the intifada? Globalize the intifada means a globalized struggle against Zionism. Because Zionism completely turned Germany, England, France, I should say reverted them back to being a full-blown fascist state where they don't have freedom of speech. There are people being arrested in the UK for supporting Palestine action, being charged as terrorists. There have not been enough focus on these toxic scourges who destroyed our democracy. Now, there's pushback, though. And now here is Jonathan Greenblatt. And you guys know I usually hate covering this guy. But this is actually very satisfying because he is explaining how the entirety of the world hates Jewish people now, hates the genocidal Zionist regime, to be frank.
So we run surveys every 2 to 3 years, like a sentiment analysis, to try to gauge how the majority population feels about Jewish people. So in this case, we do a domestic survey in the United States. And what I can tell you briefly is that we've been doing these surveys, I should say, since the 1960s. So we have a lot of information, a lot of longitudinal data. We're a very data-driven, evidence-based organization.
So no, they're not. essentially, all the data they have is completely made up. They said there's all these anti-Semitic incidents, which essentially just posting negative stuff about Israel, protests against Israel, chants like globalize the intifada from the river to the sea. They're not data driven. Data driven. They are a propaganda outlet that smears anyone who speaks out against the state of Israel as anti-Semitic. That's why the teachers union and many other organizations are no longer using ADL as a reputable source.
And basically, in the last 5 years, intense, elevated anti-Semitic attitudes have more than doubled their share of the population. In 2019, it was 11% of the US population had intense anti-Semitic attitudes. Today, in the last 5 years, it's gone from 11 to 24%.
Rookie numbers. Those are rookie numbers, Sam. We need to get those numbers up. Like, if he's talking about what he's talking about, those numbers, like, bro, come on. We can do better than that.
Now, globally, the numbers are even more stark. So when we did our first global survey of 100 plus countries in 2014, and we work with the market research firm Ipsos, based here in Paris, to do these surveys. In 2014, we found that 26% of adults worldwide had entrenched or extreme anti-Semitic attitudes. 26%. That's more than 1 billion people. We thought that was a lot.
According to the insane ADL, there are 1 billion people, 1 billion people years ago who they consider anti-Semitic, who harbor extreme anti-Semitic views. So in this clip, he's directly conflating Judaism with Zionism right in front of our face. And he wondered why people don't want ADL to be used as a source anymore. So according to the batshit crazy ADL, there are 1 billion anti-Semites. Can't make this shit up, man.
26%. That's more than 1 billion people. We thought that was a lot. When we ran the survey last year in 2024, that percentage went from 26% to 46%. 2.2 billion adults and change.
So you would think, and if any population who wasn't completely brain dead and propagandized, you would think that if 2.4 billion people didn't like you, maybe you'll be questioning, didn't you do something wrong? Like, it's one thing to have a few haters. I have a few haters. Can you imagine having a handful of haters? That's okay. I've been there. We all been there. But 2.4 billion people telling you motherfuckers to stop killing children is not an anti-Semitic wave. Like, at a certain point, those billions of people have a fucking point, man. So it's now anti-Semitic to notice that these people are corrupting society. They're literally waging war against international law. They're waging war against international courts. They're waging war against the United Nations with ADL. They call it the United Nations an agent of Hamas. So you're calling the United Nations and smearing them all these fucking names, and then the people who are part of the United Nations like, hey man, I don't like these motherfuckers. And then you're like, oh, why are you so anti-Semitic? Cry bullies. Disgusting cry bullies.
2.2 billion adults and change. And that's based on almost 60,000 interviews in many different languages all over the planet. So to see that the percentage of adults worldwide who with intense anti-Semitism has more than or nearly doubled in the last decade is shocking.
Is it? Are people being upset at you for murdering children? Is that really shocking to you? What does that say about your morality? Well, what does that say about your morality, homie? So, according to the ADL, who wants to be taken seriously as a source, 2.4 billion adults are anti-Semitic in the world. Not anything they did wrong. They did nothing wrong. They are sweet, innocent children. It is just the entire world and the entirety of humanity that is infected with the anti-Semitic hate gene. And it's so bad that Zionists are now making the argument that labor unions are anti-Semitic. Oh, here we go. So now unions are anti-Semitic. Teachers are anti-Semitic. Politicians are anti-Semitic. Podcasters are anti-Semitic. Everyone's anti-Semitic. How labor unions feed campus anti-Semitism. Questions for Congress to ask the leaders of UC Berkeley and the city of New York. So this article is this Zionist guy, Nathan McGrath, calling for members of Congress to have labor leaders be grilled over their anti-Semitic content. Yeah, even Elmo anti-Semitic. That's a funny-ass profile picture. The Elmo thing is so funny because you have fucking Zionists really tweeting at Elmo like that was shit. Like Elmo really tweeted this shit. Everyone's fucking anti-Semitic now. So they were smearing labor unions because many unions was condemning. I didn't have to say, but I can find it real quick. Many unions have been condemning Israel. Many unions have been calling for a ceasefire. Here's another one. The AFL-CIO called for a ceasefire. Teachers union called for a ceasefire. All these organizations called for a ceasefire to the point where now, this is the time I want you. I'll show you guys this. Even these shit liberty labor aristocracy unions have been speaking out against the genocide in Gaza. And that has led to massive cope and anger by the Zionist community. Now they're saying labor unions are anti-Semitic. And what led to this freak out was the teachers union. Let me see if I can find, I'll show you guys this. You had members of the teacher union that voted to ban the ADL as a source. So you want to know what happened? Here's the first headline. Nation's largest teacher union rejects move to cut ties with the ADL. So you had members of the teachers union who voted overwhelmingly to ban the ADL because they are pro-genocide. And then you had 400 Jewish organizations, 400 Jewish institutions who then put massive pressure on the teacher union, and they folded. And the teacher union rejected the will of their members by declining to ban ADL as a source. So now even American unions have been captured by the Zionist mob to the point where they're overriding the will of the rank and file. And RBN, we said, and a lot of social democrats got upset at us because I explained how we live in a society that have been completely hijacked by not only just the capitalist class, but they infiltrated our unions. The labor aristocracy took over the unions. Many of the workers' rights that we have now was won by communists. There were socialists and communists who were organizing labor in unions in the 30s and 40s who won all of our workers' rights. This is what led to McCarthyism. This is what led to the giant Red Scare to rid society from communists because they saw them achieving massive gains for the working class. So then in the 70s and 80s, especially during the era of Reagan, you had capitalists that not only defamed unions, but they realized that the best thing they can do is infiltrate the unions. So you have all these capitalists starting from the 70s and 80s who infiltrated unions and rendered them useless. That's why many of these strikes, like the Kellogg strike, there was undercutting the demands of the workers. That's why the rail strike, the management, the bosses, they were undercutting the demands of the workers, because what Democratic socialists and social democrats who worship Western unions, what they don't understand is that unions in the West, unions under the capitalist structures, are generally garbage and have been infiltrated by the capitalist class for a very, very long time. The head and remember the dock worker strike. I covered this. I now remember this. You guys remember when they had the dock worker strike? But despite the fact that the dock workers went on strike, they still sent military supplies to Israel because they were like, "Oh, it's our patriotic duty." Yeah, we're going on strike, but we don't want to jeopardize national security. Hey, Zoya, I gotta find the link to that. I just not thought about that. I should include that. Hold on. Let me find it. Dock workers, Israel shipment. But I covered this like a few months ago. Oh, geez, I can't find it. I found a story where European dock workers are striking. I saw that before. But do you guys know what I'm talking about? I didn't have to say, but during the dock worker strike, they were still sending stuff to Israel. And that's just another example how these labor unions and their leadership sell us out. Sorry, I can't find the source, guys. You guys got to take my word for it on this one. I can't find the exact source. The funny thing is, if you search dock workers Israel boycott, you find a lot of shit from Europe. Like there are a lot of European dock workers who are blocking shipments from Israel. Like here's one of the stories I found. Looking for a source that I just mentioned. Look, Greek port workers block armed shipments to Israel. So that's pretty cool, right? All right. Forbes might have mentioned it. Yeah, I can't find the exact story I mentioned, but I think you guys believe me, right? It was during you can look it up. It was during the dock worker strike, and they still was sending weapons to Israel. I don't know. The leader of the teacher union is a dual citizen, Zio-Nazi. This guy said lesbian. I don't know why that's fucking. Oh Jesus! The anti-Zionism coalition is getting really, really big. That man said, "Look, he's dual citizen. He's a Zio-Nazi and a lesbian." Like, all right, I don't think the lesbian deserve to be there, bro. Jesus Christ! I didn't see that when I first saw this tweet. To be honest, this is the leader of the teacher union, hardcore Zionist. So of course, this is the leadership that. Oh Jesus! Zoya, you're the GOAT. Zoya's love Zoya's life with the receipt. Thank you, Zoya. I appreciate you. So this is why I'm referencing this from last October. 4,500 dock workers shut down the East and Gulf Coast. They need to stop armed shipments too. The strike has potential to shake up the U.S. economy just weeks before the presidential election and could disrupt the shipping of weapons to Israel if workers go farther. Yeah, this is the story I'm talking about. And it wasn't blocking Israel's shipments. But anyway, I don't need to read the whole thing. But they was calling for them to stop the arms shipments, and that didn't materialize. Let me read some super chats. I think that's all. We over 2 hours in. This is pretty good for the first episode. 2-hour rant session. I have a story on Trump and Netanyahu, but I kind of ran a little bit long. So I'll probably cover this on Wednesday. We have Sarah from DDG join us on Wednesday. The ruling class really are completely unoriginal. We talk about this all the time. They're running the same storyline from the Biden administration. Now Trump is saying Netanyahu's a madman. So we're going to cover this later this week. They're now framing the idea that Netanyahu is out of control. Trump is secretly frustrating. If this sounds familiar, it should, because they just ran this play literally a few weeks ago. So every time MAGA get upset over Israel, they run these fucking stories. You know why they run the story again? Because Israel bombed the Catholic Church. So now Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and MAGA influencers are going crazy because they call Israel killing Christians in 4K. So since the right wing is upset at Israel again, they got to run this psyop story. Trump is upset at Netanyahu. He's a madman, guys. He's a madman that we keep giving weapons to.